Kakalosh Boker Tov. We're going to be continuing this morning on Daf Pei Daled Amud Aleph 8481. However, though, we're going to start just on the bottom of Pei Gimel Amud Bet just to get back into it. We're on Tanan, where it says over here we learned in a Mishnah. So we're four lines down from the bottom. It says like this: Tanan, we learned in a Mishnah. When you have people of the courtyard or of the mirpeset, so you have the picture right in front of you, right over here, or actually, yeah, if you want to get the picture open, it's 822. Picture 822, page 285 out of 369. You have it, no? 285? Page 285. Okay. Hold on one second. So there we're talking about chatzer and we're talking about a mirpeset. Hold on one second. So basically it's picture number 822. You have in picture 822, you have there the chatzer, which is the bottom part, and then you have the mirpeset, which is the top part. Okay, the mirpeset is the balcony on the top, and the chatzer is the courtyard on the bottom. Okay, so it says over here, what happens now if you have the anshe chatzer and anshe mirpeset? They forgot and they didn't make an eruv. So it says over here like this. So it says, Kol shehu, yeah, gavoa asarat tfachim lamirpeset. So it says, as long as it's going to be the height of 10 tfachim, it's sheyach to mirpeset. So on this side, on the left side of the picture, you see that that brick thing is 10 tfachim tall. So if it's going to be 10 tfachim tall, it's sheyach to the mirpeset, which is the balcony, the porch on the top. And if it's going to be less than that, so then it's sheyach to the chatzer. It's going to belong to the courtyard on the bottom. So kasa kadaitach, I would have thought to say, my mirpeset, what does it mean, the mirpeset? When we said anshe mirpeset, the people of the mirpeset. Now we're on Pei Daled Amud Aleph on the top, 8481 on the top. Bnei Aliyah. We're talking about the people that they live on the second floor, correct? These are the people on the top floor, right? Which basically their entrances are above the mirpeset 10 tfachim or more. Umay karile mirpeset. So why are you calling them a mirpeset? The kasal kibim beset because they go up through the mirpeset, which means they go up through the balcony and then they go to the second floor. Alma, so you see from here. If in one hand they could go through throwing it and the other one they're lowering it down. You remember that was basically yesterday's daf about throwing it and lowering it down, right? There was a concept that if I could throw, let's say they were going to have, okay, go back up to picture, what number is this? This is picture 820. So in picture 820, you had, right, lezebe shilshul velezebe zrika, which means that the top one, they can lower it down, okay? Yeah, you could lower it down. And then on the bottom one, they could throw it upwards.
Ali, come sit in the corner by here.
If you want, you could sit here. And then you could see. Okay? So basically what happens is that this one up here, Lezebel shilshul, lezebel zrika. This is a lower courtyard. This is a higher courtyard. Okay? So because this is a higher courtyard, they could only lower it. This is called b'shilshul. This one on the bottom is bizrika. He has to throw it into here. Remember, this is in between the two courtyards. You've got this stone, I don't know what you want to call it, in the middle. Okay? So therefore here, if they wanted to throw it here, they would throw it. Here, they would lower it down. Okay, so this is called lezebe shilshul velezebe zrika. What was the halacha? So he said that we're going to come and give it to the easiest person. So here it says, we're going back down over here to this picture now, this Pei Daled Amud Aleph. Okay, so it says, Alma, so you see from here, kol lezebe shilshul velezebe zrika. Anytime that you have it a shoot, that one of them you do it by putting it downwards, by lowering it downwards, and the other ones you would have to throw it on the top. We're going to do it to the one that's lowering it downwards. Why? Because the mirpeset itself, since it's above the 10 tfachim, that's over here, you have the 10 tfachim for the mirpeset. This is the balcony, the porch, and you have the 10 tfachim over here. So therefore, in Pitchi Aliyah, also these entrances of each one of these doors is 10 tfachim above, right? So it says over here, so therefore what's happening is we're going to give it to this one, right? This is shayach to the mirpeset because it's 10 tfachim tall. Okay, if it was lower than 10 tfachim, so then it's shayach to the people here down here, anshe chatzer, which is over here. Everyone sees my cursor? Yeah? Okay. So says the Gemara, just like Rav Huna comes, right? And he says, right? This is to do with a board or a sela. Lo'otan adarim b'mirpeset. We're talking about to the people that are actually coming and they're living in the mirpeset. Okay, so therefore, right, we're talking about that it's actually open directly to it. Hachanami lo'otan adarim b'mirpeset. So too, we're talking about the ones which are living in the mirpeset, which are these people. These are called anshe mirpeset. I don't know if you could see it. Here, anshe mirpeset. Okay, so this is, I blew it up too much. Okay, everyone sees the picture?
What's the difference?
No, it was the exact same picture. I just, here it was blown up to 300%.
All right.
Otherwise,
Yes.
okay? Okay, perfect. So says the Gemara, Ihachi if so, Ema Seifa. Let's see the Seifa. So Pachot Mikan, right? Lechatzer Amai. What happens now if it's going to be less than 10 Tfachim, which means this brick, I don't know what you call it exactly, brick, how do you want to call this? I don't know, somewhere where you could rest things on. I don't know, this brick.
Brick thing. The one on the left?
Yeah. This is.
A post.
Like a column. Like a column.
Column. Thank you.
Good.
Thank you. Who was the one that said that? I couldn't see. Okay. Yeah, for sure. What do you think? We have to be Makir Tova. But I couldn't see who was the one that spoke. Okay, fine. They're staying very humble. They're not saying who it was. Okay, so let's see the Seifa. The Seifa says, Pachot mikan, if it's going to be less than this, lechatzer, it belongs to the chatzer. Now says the Gemara, Mai, why? It says, lezeh bepetach v'lezeh bepetachu. Each one is for the petach, for the entrance. Now we're going to picture 824. It's the next picture. It's right over here. Here we have that this column over here is less than 10 tfachim. However, though, there's also less than 10 tfachim from the top of the column to the mirpeset. So that's what it says here. Right here, you've got the column itself is less than 10 tfachim, less than 80 centimeters. But there's also less than 80 centimeters, right? Pachot mi 10 tfachim from the top of the column to the mirpeset. Again, picture 824. So therefore, the Gemara is asking, let's see the Seifa. The Seifa says, again, the same picture. This is the chatzer. You have 3 people living on the bottom. You have 3 people living on the top of the mirpeset. Now, what happens is, in such a case, right, it says over here, right, it should have been said that it's a sur to be metaltel between each one of them, right, because since it's between both of them, right, so then who are you going to give it to? So says the Gemara, my lechatzer, what does it mean that it belongs to the chatzer here? Because we said that if it's less than 10 tfachim, it belongs to the chatzer, to the courtyard, not to the mirpeset. So says the Gemara, af lechatzer, also to the chatzer, right, but it's both. And therefore, shnehem asurim, and therefore both of them are going to be prohibited. Because basically, since it's going to be the same benefits for both, it becomes prohibited for both. We're not going to permit it for both. We're going to prohibit it for both. So here, technically speaking, it should belong to the chatzer because it's less than 10 tfachim. But since also from the top until the mirpeset is also less than 10 tfachim, it also belongs to the top one. So because it belongs to both, they're both prohibited.
Wait a minute, what's the problem, Rabbi? I mean, what's the problem? Can't they do something here to make it work for everybody?
No, that's the problem. The problem is it has to be permitted for one and not for both.
Why can't they both have it?
That's just the general rule. The general rule that it has to be permitted only for one. They cannot permit it for both people.
Well, are we talking about permitting a chatzar?
No, permitting to put on this column.
Putting what?
Putting your objects on this column. Who's allowed to use this column?
We're now discussing putting like to rearrange your object on that column.
Yeah.
Can I come in the Shusharabim?
This column is on the side. It's not in the chatzar. Yeah, Carmelis. It's not in the chatzar and it's not in the mirpeset.
Directly from your chatzar, you want to place it on that column.
On that column, or from the mirpeset, or from the balcony to the column.
So you cannot make a chatzeres for that.
No. So now what we're trying to say though is that if this column is 10 tfachim tall, so it belongs to the balcony. If it's less than 10 tfachim, it belongs to the chatzar.
And if it's a certain height, it belongs to everybody.
So now here it's both. Why? Because here it's less than 10 tfachim, so it belongs to the chatzar, but the distance from the top of the column to the mirpeset is less than 10 tfachim, so it also belongs to the mirpeset. So since it belongs to both equally, we say both prohibited. That's the general rule. Okay? Hachenami mistabra. This is also logical. Why? Midiktani seifa. That which we said in the seifa. What do we say exactly in the seifa? When are these words? When we said that we're talking about here the border or the sela. You remember we're talking about the pit or the stones where it's going to be 10 tfachim high. So he said bismucha That's only if it's going to be very close to the mirpeset. This, if you go up a few pictures, you had it in the Mishnah when we had. You're going to go back a few pictures. Hold on one second. Let me just make this smaller, and I'll go back. Okay. Here. This is picture 809. In picture 809, this was the pit, and therefore this is the dirt of the pit. And this one is the, let me just zoom. This is the pit. Okay, this is the pit, and this is the stones. So here also we said, but it had to be very close. It had to be within the 4 tfachim of the mirpeset. Because if it's going to be mufleget, which means it's further away than the mirpeset, so then you don't get it anymore, even if it's going to be 10 tfachim. 4 tfachim.
It's very close. It's like
exactly,
a foot.
Exactly. 4 tfachim. 4 tfachim is 32 centimeters. Okay, so it has to be within the 4 tfachim. Okay, that means not only does it have to be 10 tfachim height, which is 80 centimeters, it also has to be 4 tfachim within the space, right? The distance, because it's going to be more.
What do they want to do with the mound and the pit? What do they want to do?
Whatever they want to use it for. Whatever. Let's say it's stone, let's say it's the pit, whatever they want to use it for. They can do whatever they want. They could put things inside, they could take things out, they could rest things, whatever they want. Okay? So it says here, if it's going to be very far away, even if it's going to be 10 tfachim tall, afilu gavoa 10 tfachim lechatzer, it belongs to the chatzer. My lechatzer, what does it mean that it belongs to the chatzer? If it's going to be only to the chatzer v'shadi, and therefore it's going to be permitted, right? Amai, why? Reshuta de tarvaihu. Again, it belongs to both of them. Basically, the question that we keep on asking is, if it belongs to both of them, it should be prohibited. If it only belongs to one of them, it's going to be permitted. Okay, that's the yesod that we're trying to bring down here. Elamai, but rather, what do you have to say? Lechatzer. It has to be lechatzer. So what does that mean? Af lechatzer. It has to belong to both of them. Also to the chatzer and also to mirpeset. And therefore, shnei masurim. Therefore, both of them are going to be prohibited. Hachenami, so to here, my lechatzer. What does it mean lechatzer? Af lechatzer, also to the chatzer, shnei masurim. Both of them are going to be prohibited. Shma mina. So basically, any single time, right? That's what we keep on saying. Any single time that it belongs to both of them, right? What happens is that once it belongs to both of them, they're both going to be prohibited. Okay? Fine. Let's continue. Okay. Very good. Next.
We're going back to throwing and lowering.
Yeah, Chuliata Bor. So we have the next picture, 825. Okay, so the next picture in 825, it says over here like this. Okay? Today we learned in the Mishnah, Chuliata Bor v'asela shekvon yasera lemirpeset. Pachot mikan lechatzer. So again, one more time. Here you have the Chuliata Bor. This is the earth of the pit. And here you have the sela, the stones. So what do we say? We said that if it's going to be 10 tfachim tall, it's sheyach lemirpeset. So here it's 10 tfachim. So it's shayach to the mirpeset, to this floor. Okay? Pachot mikan, if it's going to be less than 10 tfachim, the chatzer, it belongs to the chatzer. So says the Gemara, okay? So Amar Ravuna comes and it says, no, this is not a proof that we're giving it to the mirpeset, which means to the people up here, but rather leotanam adarim mirpeset, to the people that are actually living in the mirpeset, right? Why? Because in such a case, right, we're going to see over here, look over here, you have the case where even though it's 10 tfachim tall, so therefore it's not shayach anymore to the chatzer, but you also have more than 10 tfachim to the window, to here. Because how are they going to use it exactly? Right? From here, you cannot use from the Chuliata Bor over here. So therefore you have to use it from this window. So this window also has to be with it here. So it says, Teinach Sela, this is good for the stone, right? Right? That's what we're going to say that it's going to be okay. Why? Because it's one of the two different cases that we brought down, right? That we said it. But to the bor that we mentioned, which is this one, on the left, the pit, Michael, what are you going to say? How are you going to push this off? At the end of the day, the bor is amok mipnei akarka.
Still water.
Right? Very good. Okay, well, that's what we're going to answer. Right? But we didn't know that. So therefore, we thought that this pit is empty. If it's stone is stone the entire thing. So you place it on top of the stone and it's perfect. But over here, it's hollow. If it's hollow, that means you have things inside. So what's it going to help now that you have to go all the way down here anyway? You understand? It's so what do we answer? Like what just Richard said. Right? We're talking about water, which is a pit full of water. So since we're talking about a pit full of water and it goes all the way until the top, so therefore it's going to be okay. Fine. So says the Gemara, he says, 1 second, but the water is going to be lacking in the middle of the Shabbat. if you're using the water and you keep on bringing up water to your window, right? This is the window, and you keep on bringing up water. Because remember, this is lezeb shilshul velezeb zrika. Lezeb shilshul means I have to lower things down or higher things up through the window. That's bishilshul. And lezeb zrika, if I wanted to use this, I would have to throw it on top. So we already mentioned that we always give it to the ones that bishilshul, that you're lowering it down.
I thought they'd have to make some sort of like you see in a boat, they make some sort of
No, you don't have to do that. You just go up and down. You don't have to do actually
an enclosure or
an
something.
enclosure. You don't have to. Yeah. So he says over here, if you want, you could turn off the AC. Huh? I thought for him it was cold. Okay. So he says. So therefore, he says over here, the water is going to be lacking. So the Gemara answers, given the Himalaya Sharia, it says over here, right? So he says like this. He says, given the Himalaya Sharia, it says once you're going to come and you're going to fill up the bore, right? It says over here, it's going to be permitted for them to use it, because then what happens is the gova maim is going to be shaveh to the gova of the mirpeset. It's going to be on the same level. So ki chasra na mesharia. So therefore, just like when you fill it up, it's going to be equal. So too, even if it's going to be chaser later on when you're going to take out the water, it's still going to be permitted. Okay, because it doesn't go out from the original heter, which means that once it was heter from the beginning, it was permitted from the beginning, it's going to stay permitted later on, even though it is going to be lacking water, because obviously you're taking water out on Shabbat, but it's still going to be continued having water there. So the Gemara says, Adra, but the opposite. Given the chichasra asira, right? What are you telling me that listen, when you filled it up, it was permitted, so to now it's going to stay permitted. Why? The second that you came and you took it out, now it should become prohibited. So kimalia nami asira. Why are you going the other way around? You said, since when I fill it up, it's going to be permitted. When I take it out, it's going to be permitted. Says the Gemara, the exact opposite. Say, since when I take it out, it's prohibited. So to when you fill it up, it's prohibited. Flip the coin. Yeah? So says the Gemara, says we're not about water. We're talking about the pit was full of fruits. Okay, so therefore, since what happens is that it's not going to become mamash completely empty on Shabbat. So says the Gemara, but it does become, because you're also going to take fruits. You want dessert, you're going to start taking out fruits on Shabbat. So says the Gemara, betivla. We're talking about perot of tevel. So since it's untithed produce, which means they didn't give all the tevel, whether it's to the Levim and to the Kohanim and everything. So therefore, what happens is it's going to be a problem. Anyway, I can't take from it on Shabbat. So therefore, it's not going to be chaser on Shabbat.
That portal, that window right there, that's the portal.
Yeah, this is where they're coming and they're bringing it up and down from the window. Okay? So Daikenami Diktani, you could actually deduce it, Dumya de Sela, because the pit was just like the stones, which means just like the stones, it was not hollow, so you're not going anywhere deeper. It's only on the top. So to the pit was the exact same thing. That means even though the pit is hollow and it goes all the way down to the ground, but since it was filled with fruits and I cannot touch the fruits because it's tevel, so therefore it's the exact same thing like the stone.
It says here that just as the rock is muksa, so the contents of the pit are also muksa.
Yeah, muksa, because they cannot touch it. So since I can't touch it because it's tevel, meaning I'm not going to be able to take it. I'm not going to be able to use it. So therefore I'm not going to use it. So therefore it's like this stone. That means this pit, even though it is hollow and there are things inside, it's like the stone, because it's going to stay at the same height, because I'm not going to take anything from it.
I teach both cases.
Shema Mina. So 1 second. So now the Gemara is going to ask, so what do I need to teach both cases? Why do I need the pit and why do I need also the stone? It's the exact same yisod. It's the exact same concept. So it says the Gemara, you need both cases. The Eiruvin and Sela, because if it was only going to be the Sela, the Leka Lamigzar, because I can't decree anything. The Sela, the stone, is always going to say the same. I'm never going to have a case where the stone could go deeper inside. The stone is a stone. It stays at the same height. But by the board, by the pit, I should make a decree. I should make a decree that maybe I can never use the pit. Why? Even though right now I have tevel, and therefore I have a technical issue that I cannot take something from it because it's tevel, but maybe I should make a decree. Maybe I'm going to have regular fruits in there, or maybe I'm going to have water in there. So it says, Zimnen demaya pirom tukanim. So tzricha, that's why you need it. That's why you need both cases, to come and teach you the chidush by the board. Okay, that we don't make any decree. Tashema, we're going to come and learn from another writer. Anshe chatzer v'anshe aliyah sheshachu. Yeah, we're talking about Anshe Chatzer v'Anshe Aliyah. Okay, that they went and they forgot to make an eruv. Right? Shechu v'lo irvu. Anshe Chatzer mishtamshim b'asara tachtonim. So the people which are in the Chatzer, they're allowed to use on the bottom 10 tvachim of the wall. Anshe Aliyah mishtamshim b'asara elyonim. And the people on the top, they could only use the above the 10 of the wall. Keitzad, what's the case exactly? Ziz yotze min hakotel. When you have a ziz, which is coming out of the kotel. Remember, ziz was like a, I don't know if you want to call it like a ledge. Let me see here. We continued in the pictures. I didn't realize. 828 was the border, which is full of water. 829 was when it was full of fruits. That's over here, full of fruits. And now this is the next one, 830. So we're on picture 830. Let me blow it up. Here it is. Okay. So you have here, right? This is what's less than 10 tfachim. What's more than tfachim. Here also it's less than 10 tfachim from the window. Okay. So basically, what are we saying? Ziza yotze min hakotel. Yeah, that's over here. Lemata me'asaraf. It's going to be less than 10 tfachim. It belongs to the people of down here. Above the 10 tfachim, it's going to belong to the people on the top. Okay. Hada beini beini. What about in between? Which means this one is in between. This is below 10 tfachim, so it's permitted to the bottom. This is above 10 tfachim, so it's permitted to the top. But this one is in the middle because it's more than 10 tfachim from the bottom, but it's more than 10 tfachim from the top. So who uses it? Yeah, that's what it says. What about in between? So what do you do with that? It's going to be asur. Okay, so you see from here, right? Why? If right now the Anshe Aliyah should be able to use a bishilshul, and the Anshe Chatzer can only use a bizrika, you should permit it to the top. Again, if you have a choice between lowering it down or throwing it on top, which one do you usually always take? The one lowering it on the top. So it should be permitted to the top one, not prohibited for both. So says the Gemara, Amar Rav Nachman, says Rav Nachman, Hacha bekotel tisha asar askinan, veziza yotze mimenu. Here we're talking about the kotel is 19. Okay, bekotel tisha asar askinan. 19, look, this is 10, and then you have 9. So you have 19 until you get to the top windows. Okay, the ziza yotze mimenu, right? And you have the ziz which is coming out of it.
To make your cursor much bigger. We'll do that later. There's a way of making your cursor 5 times the size.
Bemet?
Yes.
Okay, so you'll teach me then. Okay, so here's the cursor. Everyone could see the cursor? Everyone there could see the cursor, yeah? You guys are all online there? You could see the cursor?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Benjamin.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, very good. So here it says over here like this. So again, here you have a wall which is 19 tfachim, right? From the bottom until the top, there's 19. Now what happens? The ziz yotze mimenu. So here you have the ziz which is coming out of it. Lemata me'asara, if it's going to be lower than 10, which is this one, which is only 9 tfachim, so it's this one over here. It's going to be lezeb petav lezeb shilshul. So then it's going to be to the chatzer, you have an entrance, and to the top, you have lowering it down. So then you give it to the one of the entrance. Okay? But he says, but now what's going to happen if it's going to be above 10 tfachim? So then lezeb petach lezeb izrika. So it comes out to the aliyah, it's going to be like an entrance, because to the aliyah, you've got 9 tfachim only, so it's like an entrance. Lezeb izrika, and to the lower one, they have to throw it up there. So that's bizrika. Okay, but therefore you can't come and you tell me that it's shilshul bizrika, it's petach bizrika. Remember one more time, we had a few different cases. One of them was an entrance. One of them was throwing, and one of them was lowering it down. In the Lashon of the Gemara was zrika was the throwing, shilshul is throwing, lowering it down, and petach is the entrance. So what the Gemara is now trying to say is, why are you coming and trying to tell me that we're trying to compare it to zrika and shilshul? Compare it to petach v'zrika. That the top one, they only have, since it's only 9 tfachim, this one, it's only 9 tfachim. So this is like a petach. It's not lowering it down. It's like an entrance. And down here is like zrika. So that's why you're giving it to it. We're on Peidela Damubet, 84b.
Are we having people go from that ledge in that window, or is that just for getting food stuff? So
Yeah, just lowering things and using it. It's not that you're actually jumping down and you're not.
There's no ladder there.
Yeah, you're not jumping out of the window. Don't worry about it. Right? It's basically just for using things or putting things there. Okay? So says the Gemara, Peidala Damubet, Tashema, we're going to try to bring a proof. Look at this picture. This picture is incredible. Yeah, he says over here like this. This is picture 832. So it says over here, Shte Gezuz Starot. We're talking about 2 different Gezuz Starot, right? Zu lemala mizu. Obviously, they're not afraid of heights, because they're on top of the water. Yeah, and there's no ma'akeh, which is very interesting. But okay, let's not get into ilchot ma'akeh here, right? But basically, what happens is you have these 2, if you want to call them balconies or porches, and what happens is one of them is on top of the other one, And what happens is that they're exactly above water. So therefore, chas v'shalom, right? They fall. They're going a little bit swimming. Okay. Now what happens is like this: asu la'elyona velo asu latachtona. So now what happens if they made a mechitza on the top one? And this is what I think Richard was trying to mention before about drawing water, that they have to make like a type of I don't know what you want to call that.
Little box.
I don't know what you want to call it. Okay. So basically you're making like a little tiny thing over here. So it says over here, asul la'elyona, if they made the elyona, right, a mechitzot of 10 tfachim in order to permit to bring water up from the sea. Okay. So here you have again, it has the window of that box has to be 4 by 4 tfachim, 32 centimeters square. And you have to have a minimum of 10 tfachim down. Okay. So now that you do that, you could take this bucket over here, this dili, and you could lower it all the way down to the river, and you could raise the water, and you could use the water on Shabbat. Okay. So if they did it for the top one, asul elyona, velo asul tachtona, they didn't do anything for the tachtona. That's why he just has his bucket here. There's no, square box or whatever it is.
Doesn't tell us how close he is to the water either.
It's true, right? It says, shtehem asurot, both of them are going to be prohibited, ad sheyarvu, unless they're going to make an eruv between each other. Why? Because the surah is considered a reshut yechid. And since they did not make mechitzot, so the water beneath them is considered a karmelit. And therefore, they're not allowed to take from a karmelit to the reshut yechid, right? But even if the top one did have mechitzot, right, and therefore it's considered a reshut yechid, they're still prohibited from taking water up here. Why? It says because since you're not allowed to come and you're not allowed to pick up on Shabbat from the bottom one, so the Bnei Tachtona also are able to take from the top one. How? By throwing up the deli upwards and then bringing it down. So it comes out, right? That means basically the one on the bottom, they're throwing it up here, and then they could lower it down here and then bring it back down here. You understand? That means he cannot go from here directly to the sea, but he could take his up here, and then from here they go down here and then back down like this. Okay? Capiche or not?
No.
No? You understood what we were talking about? Basically,
how do they do it?
Right here, right? It says over here like this. This guy down here, he cannot go directly from here down to the water. Obviously, this has to be more than 10 tfachim. That's why he's not allowed to do that. So therefore, now this guy over here, since he made this box of 4 by 4 tfachim, 32 centimeters square, plus the continuation of the box of 10 tfachim, it's considered that it goes all the way down to the Carmelit. So therefore, remember, this is the Yam. The Yam is a Carmelit. The river is a Carmelit. And this is a Reshut Yechid. So now what happens is that this guy is permitted to lower down this bucket all the way down here, take water and bring it back up. Now, this guy here is prohibited from lowering it down and pricking it back up because he's above 10 tfachim. So he's not allowed to take it from the Carmelit to the Reshut Yechid.
What can he do?
What can he do? He could take this bucket, throw it up here. Yeah, he could raise it up here.
Then what?
Then from here, this guy is going to lower this yellow bucket downwards, pick up the water here, and then lower it down here.
How's he going to get it to him? He's over, it looks like he's 10 tfachim to the side.
But he's allowed to lower it. He's lowering
He's not going to be able to grab it.
Lowering it with a rope.
Hook.
Yeah, he's got a rope.
No, but
here also he has a rope.
Right
here also, by the way, he has a rope. Yeah, no, but it's a rope. You're taking a rope. Listen, this guy has to have a rope. If he's got a bucket here, and he has to go from here, right, or even from here, because he's lowering it from here to here.
Gonna have to swing it over.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So he's gonna go. Let's say he's allowed to. He could stand on top of this thing, top of this ledger. Remember, that's what the purpose is. Again, I don't know why they didn't make a gate or whatever, but I'm saying, but technically he's allowed to be here, and he lowers it down to him. So that's what it says here. Again, this is all in the footnote of the art scroll, meaning in the okay. So it says over here why, because the gezusra, right? This is called the reshut yechid. So since they didn't make mechitzot, right, whatsoever, so the water underneath them is considered a karmelit, and therefore you're not allowed to carry from a karmelit to the reshut yechid. But rather, even if the top one didn't do mechitzot around, and therefore that's these mechitzot. These are called like the this closed enclosure, whatever you want to call it. So therefore he says now that's going to be the problem. So therefore it says the Gemara, Amar Rava Barava, says Rava Barava, right? Bnei Tachtona derech Elyona lemalot. No, we're talking about that the bottom one are going up to the top one with a ladder. It's over here. This one. You see the bottom one. That's picture 833, which means that the bottom one is coming up through a ladder to the top one. And then he's going to be drawing water right through the top one.
Do they have an error?
So therefore,
Did they make an Erev Chatzeros?
so therefore, 1 second. So therefore, since they're both equal, right, it's prohibited for both of them. Because now what's happening is that since I can actually get to the top one, so therefore what's happening is now becomes prohibited for both of them, right, to actually, because now it's both of them b'shilshul, right, because basically this bottom one has the exact same like rights as the top one. Okay? Now, Amar Abaye says, Kegon de kayamin betoch hasara da'adade. Another answer, not, right, that you have a ladder and you're going up to the ladder, and now you're going from the here downwards as well. So it's the exact same thing, meaning they both have the same, how do you call it, the same rights. It's a different answer. They're within 10 tvachim from each other. From here, that's picture 834, which means that since they're within 10 tvachim from each other, so now remember, I'm allowed to come and use this, because remember, anything within 10 tvachim, I'm allowed to use both of them. So he could basically jump up here or do whatever he wants up here, right? And now they're both considered the exact same halacha. Okay? So therefore he says, therefore they do it bizrika to that, and then shilshul also the same way. Fine. So now says the Gemara, velom, which one? The fact that within the 10 tvachim at the same level. And then you could do whatever you want, going down also. That means he could use this hole just like this one as well. They could both use now this I don't know, you want to call it exactly, this cubicle, right? And they could lower down the water. Okay? So now says the Gemara, Velo mi baye kamar. And I don't need to say this. What does that mean? We know that many times in Mishnayot or in Gemarot, we say lo mi baye kamar, which means we didn't need to say it, which means lo mi baye, we didn't need to say asula tachtana velo asula nada sire, that if they did only to the bottom one and not to the top one, it's going to be prohibited. Yeah, that's this picture, 835. That they only did to the bottom one and not to the top one, that it's going to be prohibited, right? Why? The Kevin the Gavu Asara Dadi Kaimin Asara and Dadi, because since it's going to be within less than 10 tvachim, so they're both going to be prohibited. Because remember, if they're both the exact same level and they don't do an eruv, they're both prohibited.
Well, so this is with no error.
Exactly, with no eruv. Yeah. So it says Ela afilu asul elyona v'lo asul tachtona. Even if they did to the top one and not to the bottom one, that's the next picture. Right? Even if they did to the top one and not the bottom one, Kevin de leze benachat v'ze bekashe. Since for this one it's easier and this one's more difficult, leit ve'leze shetashmisho benachat. Right? Just give it to the one which is easier. Which this was the general rule that we learned in the previous Mishnah. For this one, it's very easy to use this bucket and going downwards. To this one, even if it's going to be less than 10 tvachim, it's more difficult. So we already learned in the Mishnah, if you have one which is easier and one which is more difficult, what do you usually give it to? The one which is easier.
But if they're within 10 tefachim, they restrict each other.
But no, so exactly. So that's what he's saying. Kamash malan, Kevin devgo asara kayamin. So that's what the chidush is. The chidush is that since within the 10 tefachim, asra nadadi, it's going to prohibit on both of them. Exactly. Ki hamad adamar of Nachman and Shmuel, just like Rav Nachman says in the name of Shmuel, Gag hasamuch. It says Gag hasamuch l'reshut rabim. So here you have picture 836. You have a gag, this is a roof, right, which is close to a reshut rabim. What does that mean? There's no chatzer around the gag. Look, here, these chatzerot, they have like a, how do you call this when you're picking it up? You have a...
It's a mavoy.
No, well, this is the reshut rabim.
Yeah.
Okay, this reshut rabim, right? Here you have the chatzer.
Yeah.
Okay, now this mirpeset
like
is, no, but it's, how do you call it when you raise it above the ground? It's raised,
elevation.
elevated. Thank you. This is elevated 5 tvachim. So now what happens is, and there's another 5 tvachim until the roof. Right now, the thing is though, is that you only have 10 tvachim from this house because this house is lower down in the chatzer. If you see the picture,
kind of
yeah, that means these houses are taller up, but this house is starting all the way in the bottom. This happens all the time in Israel. All the time in Israel, you have like houses that are starting down below, and all of a sudden the street is here, but the house started all the way down there. You understand? So now here you have from the roof, you have 10 tvachim. That's what it says here. So now if you want to permit going from the Reshut Rabim to this roof, you need a sulam kavua, which is of 10 tvachim. Okay, in order to go up. Sulam is a ladder, which is fixed. You have here the ladder. You see it? How much? Let me see. No, 300%. Yeah.
Where's the ladder?
Yeah. Right here. Inside the house, right here. You don't see it. The house is see-through. And here's the ladder.
Okay, I'm this far away.
Let me try to make it even bigger.
Is this the same picture, Rabbi? Or is this a different?
a different picture. Okay, this is a sulam kavua. Latiro tzarich, right? This is what we just said. Okay. So now it says over here, okay, you need a sulam kavua latiro to permit it. He says why? Because if not, it's going to be prohibited for the gag to use it because of the shut rabim, which are going by the gag, right? And what happens is that they cannot come and start putting it on the gag, right? Because it says they're considered shutafim letashmish gag, and therefore it becomes like a reshut, which nobody made in a eruv. Okay, but now once he puts a sulam kavua inside of his house, right? So now he removed from the reshut rabim from the gag, because now he shows that he is the only one that wants to use his own gag, his own roof. Beforehand, right? Maybe he would go up to the roof, I don't know, on a palm day, in a blue moon. But now that he puts a sulam kavua there by the gag, he's showing, I want to use the gag. This is my gag. So therefore, I'm not going to let you, that you're just walking by and the reshut rabim come and use it. Okay, sulam kavua in, sulam arai lo. So obviously, it's only a sulam kavua, not a sulam arai. It has to be a fixed ladder, not a ladder that you just put once in a while. My tama, what's the reasoning? Lam mishum, isn't it because that it's within the 10 tfachim, that's why they're going to prohibit each other, which means that since over here, it's within the 10 tfachim, from the reshut rabim to the gag, so that's why they're both going to prohibit it to each other, right? So therefore, this is actually going to be a proof that since it's within the 10 tfachim to each other, it does prohibit to each other. Okay, that was the picture over here. It's within the 10 tfachim. Okay, so now says the Gemara, Matkif la Rav Papa comes and he asks, the dilma kishrabim mechatfin, right? Alav bekumta vesudra. Maybe we're talking about a case where you have a lot of people that they're coming, they're bringing down their masaot, and they're bringing down a whole bunch of different things, right? They're carrying, whatever they're carrying,
hats, scarves,
right? Whatever it is that they're carrying, bekumta vesudra, with different hats and scarves, which means that we're talking about a gag that the reshut rabim there. Usually they come and they put their things there, and therefore since they come and they usually put their things there.
You mean
right?
from the
reshut rabim? Yeah, right here. But there's another picture. We didn't get there.
Just throw their stuff there.
Yeah, but we didn't get there yet because this is actually in Tosfot. Let me just see if there's a picture here. It is still Tosfot. Here it is. This picture. Picture 840. Let me make it bigger so people could see. Here it is. Maybe we're talking about, right? Everyone has the picture 840, right? The people, they usually come here. But basically, since we remember, 10 tefachim is 80 centimeters. 80 centimeters is this table. Well, people are not going to walk by and just come and put down a hat. Right? Imagine you've got a roof right beside you. You're going to use it as whatever it is. You understand? So therefore, maybe we're talking about this. This is according to Shitat Rashi. Okay? So says the Gemara, right? And therefore, what? So therefore, since we're talking about the normal thing of the Reshut Rabim, that they always do this, so therefore it's considered like a petach also. So therefore, that's why they're going to prohibit it also to the guy inside of his house. Right? Why? Because at the end of the day, since it's normal for the people to walk by and start putting down, whether it's their hat, whether it's their scarves, or whatever it is that they have, that's why it's going to prohibit it. So Amar Rav Yehuda Shmuel, it says Rav Yehuda in the name of Shmuel, Bor, Pehei Amud Aleph, 85A1, Bor sheben shte chatzerot. Okay, when you have a bor, which is between two chatzerot, right? That's this picture, picture 843. So you have a bor, which is in between two different chatzers, right? This picture. Okay, you have a pit with water in between two different chatzerot. Okay, mufleget mikotel ze arba, mikotel ze arba. Right, so now each one, it's 4 tfachim depth, width, like length, separated from it. Because remember, if it's within the 4 tfachim, so then it's to the one which is closest. Here, each one has 4 tfachim on each side. Okay, 32 centimeters. Zemotzi ziz kol shehu. So this is going to take out a ziz, whatever amount, right? V'zim maleh. V'zemotzi ziz kol shehu maleh. So each one has to take out another ledge of whatever amount that they want, and then they could just fill it up from the pit. Okay? And then obviously we're going to say, but now if it's going to be that each one is going to be from the chatzerot, so therefore the question is obviously you're going to be whichever one is closer. So mi'ikad din, it's going to be permitted for both of them to come and to take, even without making any type of a mechitza or anything. But the rabbi said, and they wanted some type of a ziz, some type of ledger, in order that it's like a heker to the reshut, right? A reminder to everybody, right? That it's going to be for like both of them, and because if not, that they have to actually make an eruv between both of them. So that's what exactly we're talking about. And believe me that tomorrow we'll continue from here. Okay, we'll just continue from here.